Good morning, and welcome to another episode of Insights from the Couch. Today, I am joined by Dr. Anamaria Ryan, owner of Seven Counseling, and my name, Yella Lee Smith, owner of The Traveling Therapist. And we're going to be talking about a commonly held belief that once you leave a narcissistic relationship as the victim of the narcissist, you are able to handle the post relationship backlash the same way that you would any other relationship. And if you're not able to do that, if you're not able to overcome and move on and get your strength back, it's actually a weakness on your part. And you're actually the person that is in part at fault for that. And you should kind of just snap out of it. So, Dr. Ana Maria, welcome and good
Good
morning.
morning. Thank you for inviting me.
Okay, so we were taking a look at some myths and beliefs, and we kind of came to the conclusion that this is one that may be relevant because we've done a series on narcissistic abuse and narcissists in general. And funny enough, this last week, it's been all about, like, for my patients, my staff, it's been all about victims of narcissistic abuse coming to us for support and for therapy. And so um, the first thing I want to talk about is the codependent relationship that happens between a narcissist and its victim. And it all starts, it starts with the love bombing phase. Then there's the manipulation and the psychological aspect of it. And it can take, sometimes you're with that person for years and they're working on you for that entire time. Dr. Ana Maria, have you had experiences where, like, you've had patients like that have been in narcissistic abusive relationships?
Yes, thank you for asking the question. I think that as a therapist or any therapist that is out there listening to the podcast, we all can say that this is fairly common. We get people that come to see us because they are survivors of this type of relationships with narcissists. And the word that describes that person oftentimes is codependent. Which sometimes I hear a lot of my people telling me, well, I was very dependent or we're codependent, and people don't understand really the differences between those two words. And I think you and I had a conversation previous to recording this podcast where we were going to discuss the differences between dependent personality disorder or being dependent versus being codependent. So, yes, I want to say that the relationship between a narcissist and a codependent is like honey and bees. It's just, it happens all the time. But that's not to say that the person that is a survivor should feel bad because they have codependency or they have some traits of codependency. It's different than the personality disorder, like you were explaining.
Yeah, yeah. So the dependent, okay, so that's right. Dependent personality disorder has some, in many ways, has some of the same traits, has a codependent relationship, but it's not the same. So you're not somebody that's going to go out, like, if you have a codependent relationship to somebody, but you don't have dependent personality disorder. You don't need the attention of everyone else. You don't manipulate others so that you can have your needs met. You don't it's different. The codependent relationship with the narcissist is actually created by the narcissist towards you. It's not something that you're naturally born with, like a personality disorder. It's something that the narcissist actually develops inside of you by taking your weaknesses and expanding on that, making you feel like you essentially can't live without them.
So the way that I like to explain it to some of my clients is when you find yourself in a relationship with someone who has narcissistic personality disorder or antisocial personality disorders, is you probably are overly empathetic and caring. And when you don't set your boundaries, then you become codependent. So the term codependent started in the 70s or 80s, and it was about addiction originally.
Hmm.
As far as I understand, it's not a mental health diagnosis, it's just a term to describe behavior that the people who enable others go through. So, for instance, I'm going to give you an example of what codependency used to mean for addiction purpose, if that's okay. I had this lady who told me that her high schooler was using marijuana and she didn't know how he was getting the marijuana. So after having a 30-minute conversation, I was like, well, wait a minute, like, so he's buying it at school, but like, how does he get the money? And she said to me, he gets an allowance every week. And I'm like, okay, so the allowance you're giving him basically is what pays for the weed, right?
Hmm.
And she's like, oh, well, I, he really needs to have money in his pocket. So that right there is an example of codependency. It means you enable, you facilitate the behavior for the other person to continue to do what they're doing. So codependency, I don't know for the people that are out there, maybe know this or not, can be treated also as an addiction because the codependent wants to fix the other person. There are 12 steps programs for codependence, right? So that is the term codependency. Dependency on someone is something different. I depend on someone emotionally. I depend on that person because I can't live without them. And I hear a lot of my clients using those two words and
Yes.
are exchangeably. And what you were talking about is the personality disorder, which is another layer. That is a diagnosis. So I don't know, Jalili, if you want to share with us what are the signs of codependent, no, dependent personality disorder, because you're well versed on this, and maybe you can give us a little bit of like an idea of what that looks like.
So thinking about dependent, so remove the co part of it, and then that should that should help. So dependent, meaning you as an individual, your personality type uh requires constant facilitation of relationship and attachment. So like you cannot have healthy relationships with people, and so then you attach yourself to them constantly. It's almost like a feeling of I can never get enough. I can never be connected enough. I can never be cared for enough. And one of the main things that happens when you have the personality disorder is, unfortunately, most of your relationships are based on some really toxic attachment. Like there's manipulation that happens, there's lying, there's uh psychological abuse that happens because you don't believe, has somebody with that personality disorder, is really hard for you to believe that you can be loved just for yourself and that you can be given unconditional love and affection. So there's this sense of I need to force people to be in my life. So people with dependent personality disorder have very tumultuous relationships. They have a tendency to go through multiple marriages or divorces. It's in many ways similar to borderline, where they love you one minute, then they hate you, then they love you, then they hate you. So that's the key difference. Is dependent personality is something where you are that person, who you are that way with everyone, with every relationship in your life, every friendship, every partner, everybody. Now codependent is an unhealthy attachment to an individual who has essentially bred in you a sense of constant anxiety and insecurity about the safety and security of the relationship. Like they will give you something, they'll give you the carrot and then they take it away. And they give you another carrot and then they take it away. And that's how it works, uh both in addictive type of relationships where there's an addict present, where they promise that they'll change. They promise that they'll do better. They give you all this hope. They'll you go through the honeymoon phase with them while they're kind of getting you into this convenient mindset of like, oh, everything's going to be fine now. We're going to be okay. Let them back in the house. Let them have access to your things, to the money, to the bank account.
I think one thing that I would like to add, if you allow me to, is that oftentimes with personality disorders, people are not aware that this is happening unless they talk to a professional and the professional points it out. With codependency, because it's a behavior, and you said it well, it's an unhealthy attachment or behavior to something or someone, the person may feel stuck, but it's not something that they can't change. It can change. And I want to say that it doesn't mean that you're weak or there's something wrong with you. It means that maybe you grew up thinking that sacrifice is what's going to grant you love, and you're willing to do everything and anything for the people that you love. And doing it, everything and anything could mean that you're not helping that person. So the narcissist definitely is going to take advantage of that. Within family dynamics or family systems, I want to say that the family hero, the child that is a family hero that holds a lot of responsibility and wants to save the day, is probably the one that is going to end up being the codependent one, just because they want acceptance and they want everything to be okay. They want people to be okay. Ultimately, that's what the codependent does. I just want everybody to be taken care of. And there's a lot of control behind it, believe it or not. So when you go to the 12 steps, you have to learn to not think that you can control anything, aka your relationship with your narcissist.
Yeah, I think that also, I don't know if this is necessarily scientifically proven, but I have noticed that there seems to be a pattern where people that fall in that codependent relate like behavior are also pretty high achieving. So a lot of nurses, social workers, doctors, therapists, uh,
Light workers.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, seem to fall in on the side of the codependent, um, where at first you feel like, this is a great opportunity. Like, I feel happy in this relationship, things are going good, blah, blah, blah. And then obviously the person that's on the other side starts to show their true colors. But by that point, you're already kind of committed. And you're like, well, I'm willing to sacrifice myself for this. I'm willing to put in the time, the effort, et cetera, et cetera. And like how you were saying, Dr. Anamaria, it's a myth that you can treat um those types of relationships the same way that you would treat just your standard everyday couple, because the truth is, I do get patients that are like, yeah, my friends ask me, why am I even still like going back to him, or
Mhm.
why am I so afraid every time he texts me, or why do I believe all the things that he says, like, am I just being weak? But the truth is that there's been psychological trail that's been left inside of of that victim's mind, where they've been led to believe that, this person has an enormous amount of power over them.
And this is where the good hearted person, the empath, the light worker, the caregiver can fall into codependency very easily. I think it is also related to maybe wounds of abandonment or fear of abandonment, because we all want to be like, remember, Abraham Maslow said that that's a human need. We want to belong and we want to be part of something. So I think the codependent person, it's an empath that doesn't have boundaries. And very easily we may fall in that pattern, but to get out of that is very, very hard to do. With my clients, I hear a lot of what you're telling me. It's like they come in and they go like, I know these things intellectually, I wish I could leave, but I can't. So it doesn't mean that you're not smart, that you're not strong. It's just there has been a whole pattern of psychological things going on that the narcissist laid out for you. And it is very, very hard to get out of that. It's like an addiction, like I was saying.
Mhm.
That's why we treat it as such sometimes. Um, so yeah, I don't know if you find an overlap between the dependent personality disorder and narcissistic personality disorder at some point, because it seems like it's very much needy or like childish, infantile sometimes. I don't know.
There's definitely, I would say the main overlap is on the attachment style. Both are insecure attachment styles, where this fear of abandonment is really present.
Pronounced, maybe.
Yeah, pronounced. I would say those two things are similar, and then obviously the lack of boundaries. The lack of boundaries is another thing that's present in both things, and then the the other aspect of it too, I noticed that people with codependent relationships sometimes take on some of the traits of the narcissist, and actually also take on some of the traits of the addict. Um, like
Yeah.
like sacrificing the children for the sake of the narcissist. Uh, and a perfect example is you might be in a relationship with an addict or with a narcissist, and you'll say, "Well, I just can't get divorced because of the children," but you're fully aware of the fact that the children are being abused, and you're fully aware of the
Yeah.
fact that the children are being exposed to abuse because you're most likely being a victim of domestic violence. There's very good chance that you're psychologically or physically being abused in front of those children, but you're saying that the kids are the reason why you're not leaving. But you
Mm.
know on a very, very basic level that is not true. That's you being codependent on that adult, on that narcissist, on that. Um,
Yeah.
so sometimes they will take on some of those traits.
Yeah, you're right. And I also wanted to say that maybe codependency is like a superhero syndrome. I'm making this up. There's not such thing, or maybe there is, but I'm using the word superhero
Like this
and the word because yeah, I feel like as codependents, we just want to take care of people. That's a lot of our and I'm gonna call myself a codependent because I've been there. I've been very empathetic to the point that I don't have any boundaries, and I ended up taking care of people that didn't need to be taken care of. I was facilitating the behaviors that they had that were poor behaviors. But I feel like in the end, we want acceptance. We want to take care of people because it's a lot of our identity. And as a therapist, that is a lot of my identity to try to help people. So again, it's a fine line between being an empath and becoming codependent, and it depends on who you're relating to. You could be relating to a narcissist as a friend. It doesn't have to be a partner. You can be relating to a narcissist at work. It doesn't have to be a partnership. But thank you for clarifying for people that dependent, which is a different thing, personality disorder is one thing, and codependency is really not something that is listed as a mental health diagnosis. People get confused with that a lot, or
Yeah.
they use the words interchangeably, dependent and codependent.
Yeah.
So I think you were talking about the myth of people getting out of these relationships, codependence with narcissists, and just smelling like roses, getting ready for the next thing, just doing meditation, prayer, taking care of your body, and you're good to go. You can probably date within the next 6 months, and it's not like that at all.
That's true.
So you've been hearing a lot of that in your practice, is what you were sharing with me.
Yeah, so I'll tell you, I'm not going to give names or anything, but like, for example, literally in the same day, same hour, within 15 minutes of each other, I get a text message. So I get a phone call from one of my providers, and I'm like, "What's going on?" And she's like, "I think we might need to do a Baker Act." Okay, what's going on? And she's like, "Well, I have a therapist on the line right now with a patient who is currently in this moment getting text messages from her abusive ex who has her children. And ex this patient is a victim of narcissistic abuse. This ex is a narcissist, and he's telling her that she should kill herself, that she should just end her life, that she's a terrible person, that she's never going to be able to get her kids back, etc., etc. And she's losing it. And so the provider's like, "Do we need to Baker Act? What are we going to do?" Because we're like, self-harm is a real threat. And you may think, "What the hell? Block him. Or stop talking to him. Don't believe what he's saying. He's trying to manipulate you. He's trying to get you to do something to hurt yourself so that then he can keep the kids." I mean, from my point of view, as a complete stranger, an outsider, I can see everything he's doing to her. all the manipulation, all the psychological games he's playing. And it's frustrating to see her reaction, but the fact is, this person has been in a 20-year relationship with this narcissist. Literally, she was a child. She was 17 when she started the relationship with this narcissist who was over 10 years older than her. And for me to come in and expect that he's no longer going to have that sort of pull over her is very naive. And because it's not true. He does. He could get her to kill herself. He really could. And that's what codependence
Wow,
looks like.
that's so sad. That's so sad. But yeah, anyway, I think that this is a psychological response and relationships that we definitely are not in control of 100%. So thank you for saying that. And the people out there that are in codependent relationships with narcissists or people with antisocial personality disorder and they don't know it or they don't know how to get out of, just be compassionate with yourselves. We're giving you this information so that you know that it's not easy, and that's why we're here to offer that kind of support. I will tell you, with my clients that are in this situation, I give them all the time in the world to be
Mm.
ready to make the decision to leave. And, I never really try to push for that. I may challenge the clients with some questions, open-ended questions, a lot of compassion, but the person, it's hard to get out of that. Like, it's going to take time, guys, to really find your way out and
Yes.
heal.
So just some thoughts on this. Like Dr. Anamaria was saying, there are steps you can take. The first one, of course, is to acknowledge that you were in a narcissistic abusive relationship. Start there. Understand where you came from. Understand the partner you were with. Assume, even if you don't want to believe it yet, even if you're in denial, just assume that you have some codependent behaviors, some codependent traits. As long as you can at least give yourself the benefit of the doubt, then you can start figuring out, okay, what are the things that I do that make me codependent on this person or that made me codependent? Was it that I stopped working and making my own money? Was it that I gave up certain rights? Like I gave up my car, I gave up my relationship with friends, I gave up my family. I moved to some place that I had no contact with people. Like start recognizing some of the behaviors.
I was going to say that one thing that I would like for people who are empathetic and are trying to help other people, there's nothing wrong with that. But please, when you know that the person continues to have the same behavior, don't keep the hope that they're going to change. Don't think that you're going to fix this person because it's just not going to happen. They will change when they want to, and some people never do. So that's one thing that I would say. The other thing is there is CODA, which is Codependent Anonymous, and you can certainly check it out. If anybody could check it out, it doesn't mean that you have the codependency, but if you're curious enough, there are meetings online. I think that the website is coda.org, if I'm not mistaken. And
That,
another thing is, if you want to learn a little bit more about codependency, there is a super classic that is called Codependent No More. It was published in the 80s, but it's still applicable. And it talks about how we end up trying to fix and help people that don't want to be helped or fixed. And we don't need to be fixing anyone. That's the bottom line.
well, what tends to happen is in your passion and your desire to help the other person, you end up hurting yourself.
That's right.
Yeah. So,
But anyway,
um, start, if you suspect that you might have some codependent traits, just know it's very difficult to just overcome that. It's a good idea to get educated on what that is, like how to overcome it. Look up the 12 steps, go to Coda, just learn a little bit more about what you're going through and who you are and what experiences you're having. So then you can start the change. One of the biggest reasons why people with codependent relationships don't actually change and instead go back is because they just don't understand that they themselves are experiencing an addiction of sorts.
for
So
sure.
so it's like they're so focused on, oh, maybe the breakup or maybe the divorce or maybe getting the kids or all these different things, but it's like, no, you also are going through your own withdrawal from
Yes, exactly. Good
from
point.
from this addictive connection. And you need to be aware of that because you think you're going to be highly functional and that you're going to be able to bounce back and, well, I'm finally out. I made the big step and I got out. Oh, honey,
No,
the
it's
fight
kind
is just starting.
exactly. Yes, and you need a lot of time to rebuild yourself. That's for sure. So yeah, I hope this was helpful, and it was a very relevant topic, and it addresses myths that people tend to believe or they are confused about using the word dependent versus codependent, and personality disorder versus just a behavior.
Um, just a final thought. If you guys have any myths or if you have any questions where you're like, oh, is this true? I've heard this before. Is this true? Is this real? Um, and you want to share your questions with us, we'd be happy to do some research for you and talk about it and answer your questions. Um, and if you like this topic of myths, let us know as well, because we can always delve into some because there's a ton of them out there. But we hope that you have a wonderful day. We hope that this helped. And, stay strong out there, keep the good fight, and learn as much as you can about yourself so that you can then grow from it and learn from it. And yeah, good luck. And talk to you on the next episode.